Cheat sheet is back, baby. All right. There were some pretty big changes that were announced this week to Canada's new foreign buyer ban, which may have slipped under the radar for a lot of you. Not for this guy, though. This guy's real estate radar is always on. So I'm here to fill you in. I think one of these changes in particular may have a pretty significant impact on a few people, buyers, sellers, investors, renters. So walk you through them. Now let's start from the beginning. On January 1st, the Canadian foreign buyer ban came into effect. And what that ban essentially states is that anybody who is not a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident of Canada as of January 1st is barred from buying residential property in Canada for the next 2 years. Now, the reason behind this ban was that it was supposed to help cool housing prices. It was supposed to return some measure of affordability to Canada's overheated housing market. And it was going to do that by limiting foreign investment and ensuring that houses are being used as homes rather than commodities to be traded. That's a direct line from the Liberal 2022 budget. Now, there were a few exceptions under the terms of the original ban. The ban applied only to properties with 3 residential units or less, right? So you could buy a building, but you couldn't buy a house. It applied only to properties that were in census metropolitan areas, so major urban centers. There were some exceptions as well for people who are not Canadian citizens, but who were married to a Canadian citizen. There were exceptions for refugees, and there were some very limited exceptions for temporary residents here on student or work visas. That's where one of the big changes has hit. All right, now, less than 3 months after the ban came into effect, there have been 2 significant changes. The first one is that residential vacant land is no longer banned, right? It's no longer included under the ban. A lot of developers and real estate trusts here in Canada actually rely on foreign investment to finance their development activities. And we realized fairly quickly that by preventing them from building on vacant land, we were hurting the creation of supply, not helping it, and we need more supply. So you are now allowed to buy vacant land, whether you're a Canadian citizen or not. And the hope is that that will help increase supply. The second big change is there's a major loosening of the requirements for temporary residents with work visas. So under the terms of the original ban, if you were here on a work visa, you could buy property, but you had to have been in Canada for at least 5 years. You had to have been working full-time for those 5 years and paying taxes in Canada for those 5 years. So very restrictive. Now, if you're here on a work visa, so long as your work visa has 183 days or more left on it, you can once again purchase a home in Canada. And I say a home because that is literally what you are allowed to do. You're allowed to purchase one home. You can't purchase multiple properties, no investment properties. But again, if you're here on a work visa, you have at least 183 days, which is basically 6 months or more left on that visa, you are once again allowed to purchase a home here in Canada. All right, so I think that particular, now that second change is one that I find the most interesting. If you've been paying attention to the news, you know that we are expecting to welcome a very large number of newcomers to Canada in 2023. Overall, we expect about 500,000 people to immigrate into Canada this year. And many of those people, now thanks to this change in the foreign buyer ban, will once again have the option of buying a home rather than renting once they get here. So I think that's going to put further strain on our limited housing supply when it comes to resale properties. However, it's going to potentially reduce or remove some of the strain that would have been placed on the rental supply, which is also in short supply. There's also a crunch when it comes to rentals. There's a crunch when it comes to housing in Canada, period. Rentals, homes for sale, everything. So by allowing some of these newcomers to now purchase a home rather than rent, I think it helps distribute that impact a little bit more evenly across rental and resale markets. So good news if you're a tenant, kind of. Not so great if you're a buyer. If you've been watching our real estate market updates, you know that there have been a few tailwinds recently in favor of sellers, and those tailwinds ultimately act as headwinds if you're a buyer, right? So the market is definitely shifting in favor of sellers. I think that these changes to the foreign buyer ban, even though I don't expect them to have a massive impact on the market, I think it's just one more headwind for buyers and one more small tailwind for sellers. So yeah, that's what we do here. We keep you informed on all things real estate, whether you find them interesting or not. I hope you found this video somewhat interesting. If you have any questions, I'm not really selling this really well, am I? If you have any questions, you want to talk about real estate, whether it's a foreign buyer ban or anything else, I'm always happy to chat. you can book a meeting with me directly by using the Calendly link in the description of this video. I'm Serge Papineau, and we'll do better next time.